Hey guys, just want to walk you through the process of creating your basic one by one building block for your building blocks project. Now the assignment here, the building blocks CAD model, will ask you guys to create at least 3 different blocks other than the blocks that I create for the demos for your class. But if you switch over to the design brief, there's a lovely little diagram of kind of the basic dimensions for Lego style building blocks. And so we're gonna sort of reverse engineer that here to create our one by one block. As with anything, I'm going to start with a sketch. Let me start with the sketch on this top plane. Um, while I'm at it, let me go ahead and rename this sketch. I'm going to call this my main layout sketch because that's exactly what it's going to be. It's going to be pretty much all the features I need for this block in one sketch. Let me start with a rectangle. I'm going to create a center rectangle. And I'm going to create that centered at the origin. Let me click to make that. And you'll notice that those dimensions that were created, those were in millimeters, or excuse me, inches. But I really want to be working in millimeters for this particular exercise. So let me go to my document settings and switch that to millimeters, or verify that that's in millimeters. That's probably way too big now. Anyways, this is going to be looking at the top view. Let's go ahead and set the size of the side. And so for this particular design, if we add up these little P units, each P unit is 1.6 millimeters. The width of this block is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then one more on the side, 5 P units. And so in my dimensions, I can actually type 5 times 1.6. And that'll resize that side of my rectangle to be the correct size. Now the one by one block is going to be a square, obviously. So let me go up here and use my equals constraint. I'm going to click one side, click an adjacent side, and that'll make sure that those sides are equal. And since this is a rectangle, that'll make all those sides equal. All right, let's keep going. Let's start with the little peg on the top. If I'm looking at this block from the top-down view, I'm just going to see a circle for that peg. So let me create that circle. Let me choose my dimension tool, click the circle, and the diameter of that circle in this case is going to be 3 P units. So let me type 3 times 1.6. That'll resize that circle. And there's one more feature that I want to add from this layout sketch, which is going to be the thin wall. If I looked at it from the bottom's going to look hollow, and there's a thin wall that is 1 P unit thick. I'm going to add that using the offset tool, which will take some sketch curves and offset them a certain distance. For example, if I select my square, you'll see it creates an offset border. Let me drag that inside. And I'm going to set that thickness to negative 1.6. That's 1 P unit inside of that square. And you'll notice if we have that set up correctly, that should be tangent to the circle inside. And so that is all the features of this block as viewed from the top, which will actually let us create the entire block itself. So let me just kind of rotate around so we can see that. Let's start making this 3-dimensional. I'm going to start by selecting everything and just doing an extrude to make the main body of this block, which we can see is 6 P units. So 6 times 1.6 for my distance. You'll notice that that hides your sketch. I still need this sketch in order to create the rest of the features of this part. So let me click the little eyeball to unhide that. And let's do the peg on top. Now you'll notice my sketch here is on the bottom. I need that sketch on the top. So let me go ahead and create a sketch and select the top of this block to make sure that's on the top. And I am going to use the project tool. Let me rotate around to grab the little circle I made in my layout sketch and move it to the top of my block so I can extrude it where I need to. So clicking that circle, let me finish sketch. Clicking that circle, hitting extrude, and let's make this little circle on the top 1.6 millimeters as well. Make sure your operation says join so that it'll keep this all one block. And you should see in your bodies, we want to keep this one block. All right, let me orbit around to view the bottom. So for the bottom, we need to not add material, but to cut away material. And so you notice if I select that little circle, let me go up here and hit extrude. I can drag that in, and that's going to hollow out that circle. But to create the square pattern in the bottom of this block, I need to make sure I'm selecting these little corner pieces as well. Now here's a nifty little trick that'll allow us to make sure that this extrude, you see it's kind of cutting away, doesn't go all the way up through the top of the block. We want to leave some material at the top of the block so we actually have a solid structure. So I'm going to, let's see, change my extent type to object and click the top face, and that'll bring that all the way up to the top. Now that is not where I want that to be, because this little peg on top is just going to fall through. But I can create an offset. Wrong way. I can create an offset of negative 1.6p. That'll bring that extrude to the edge and then back off 1.6 millimeters so that I have a consistent thickness of material around that block. Click OK, and we have something that looks a lot like a little 1x1 Lego block, sometimes referred to as a stud. And we can do a couple things to view this and modify this. If you go to inspect, we can do a section analysis. Let me select one of my default planes. Let me grab, there we go, the XY plane. And remember, that lets you kind of see a slice into the object and view the object, or view part of the object. And you can, under analysis, click your section view and change where that slice is taken. And you can hide that section once you're done viewing that. So that's one way to see, check and see that the inside of your block makes sense. You can also edit the appearance and the material used in this block. And so when I created my extrude, I now have a 3D body. Let me right click this body. Let me go ahead and rename that 1x1 block. All right, let me right click that. You'll see how I have two options, one for changing the physical material and one for changing the appearance. Let's go ahead and set the physical material for this block. The physical material menu should pop up. And we're going to be fabricating these blocks out of plastic, obviously. There are tons of materials that are commonly used in manufacturing and engineering that you guys can choose from, and that'll change the physical properties of the actual components that you create. But let me grab ABS plastic. That is probably what we will 3D print this block out of. We also have PLA plastic as well, but ABS is probably slightly more common. And so that'll change the material. If we want to add some color to this, you can right-click that body, go to Appearance, and that'll let you set the appearance without changing the physical materials. For example, if we go down to Paint, let's grab some glossy paint. Let's see, I already have a blue and green block. Let's make a red block. So I'm just going to click and drag that red paint onto the block. And I now have a 1x1 red block. I'm going to hit Control Save to make sure I'm saving my design here. Let me rename this file 1x1 block red. And that'll save that in my building blocks folder, which you should be creating in your student folder. And you can create multiple copies of a design, change the colors, and also add additional blocks, which I'll try to push out some more tutorial videos on how to do some more complicated block designs. But that should get you started with the basic 1x1 block.